Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever tried to build a WooCommerce mega menu? I'm not just talking about the regular mega menu, I'm talking about a tabbed navigation. Yeah, this type. I've been seeing a lot of requests in the Bricks community about building this kind of navigation. And today I want to let you know, with the release of the Mega Menu Pro 1.4, this is a reality. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to set it up. Here is the backend of WordPress, and this is the Bricks template area. And you can see that I have already imported the tabbed navigation version 1.0, and that comes with the Mega Menu Pro version 1.4. And this is just a demo page content, so I can populate my page with content. So these are the only two things that is required. And I've gone ahead to open the tabbed navigation, and this is what it looks like inside the builder. And this is what the Mega Menu Pro looks like with the regular mega menu. So I'm going to show you how to set this up. Now, there are two ways you can set this up. You could copy the whole of this tabbed navigation into your header template, or you could just insert it into your header template via a template element. I would recommend the latter. Why? Because you have enough space to play with. Now, this is how this looks on a large screen, but if you don't have enough room, if your screen is small, it's gonna collapse, and on top of each other, you see the tab and the tab content just like that. Bringing the whole of this into the header template to edit it inside this can be really tricky. So I would advise you use the second method, which is inserting it via a template. So I'm going to select this mega menu, and I want to duplicate it because I want to use one of it for the tabbed navigation. I'm going to move it as the first item, and I'm just going to rename that as tabbed mega menu. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And you can see we still have the former mega menu. I'm going to open that content and delete what we have there. But before I delete, I want to insert a template element. All right, then I'm going to delete this. And in the template element, I'm going to go and select the tabbed navigation. And I want to choose render without wrapper. Why? Because this is a navigation structure, and you don't want the wrapper of this template to mess up the semantic structure of the navigation. Now, on the front end, this is what we have. And this is the default state of the tabbed navigation. It comes pre-populated with sample layouts for navigation, and this is a second layout. So you have two sample layouts. Now I'm going to go ahead and build a navigation. So what I want to build is something like this. I'm going to build a WooCommerce categories navigation with this. So we'll have accessories, cooking, fashion, furniture as the top level categories. And then inside each of them, we have the subcategories like the kids wear, the men's wear, and etc. They are the second level. And then under each of them, you have the third levels here. So I'm going to show you the back end of WooCommerce, what it looks like. I have the product categories that I've populated with all these categories. So you see all of them. You see the first level, the accessories being the first level. Yeah, from this sample, the accessories being the first level. And then you have eyewear being the second level. Eyewear being the second level, and under it you have aviator, blue light glasses, etc. Just like that, aviator, blue light glasses, etc. So this is the structure that we have, and we're going to use it to build a navigation with the loop builder. All right, so we're back here in the tabbed navigation template, and what I'm going to do is that I want to use this one. Now let's take a look at the structure. You have the tab container, which is the overall container. You have the tab inner wrap, and then you have the tab list wrapper, which wraps the unordered list. And then you have the list items inside of it. And inside each list item, you have the button and the tab nav content. Now, the tab nav content has inner content. Now, what's the point of having inner? The reason is to allow proper use of scrolling when the need arises. Then inside the inner, so everything will be inside this. So we have a grid. This is a static grid. So we're going to change it into a dynamic content. I call it static because they were just statics. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to use this first li for the loop, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these ones. I'll allow the last of this one to remain. For example, let's say you wanted to use a static content for the last one, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and loop this. In order to loop this, everything has to be one each. So we can have all these multiple things. Just like we have deleted the list item, I'm going to go ahead and delete this block. So I'm going to delete the rest of them, leaving one. And inside the block are the links. See, these sublinks have to be one also. I'm going to go ahead and remove my image. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we have just one link. Now notice this is a list item. So I'm just going to call this LI, and this is a UL. So let's put it there so we can see what we're doing. So let's start. I'm going to collapse this. So first we loop the LI. So I'm going to go to Bricks query loop, enable a query loop. I'm going to loop terms. And inside this button, the text here, I'm going to give this a term name. I'm going to put that as a term name. So this tab will have the name of the term. Now to preview this on the front end, I'm just going to click view on the front end. And of course, the loop is not showing. Now I want to view this on an actual page because sometimes when you're previewing a template, certain loop items don't show up. So I'm just going to go where you have the navigation, and it's only the static content that is showing up. Now the reason that is happening is because if you go back to our product categories, you're going to see the count all here is 0, which means we have not assigned it to any product. There is no product. I just created this category. So in order to allow them to show in this demo, I'm going to say show empty. So even if this means even if they don't have product, then they should show up. Now you can see that the accessory is showing. Okay, if I move this like this, you can see all of them are showing, but I don't want all of them to show. I want just the top level to show. So for the top level to show, I'm going to come here and say parent 0. So here is for the parent ID, but the top level don't have any parents. So I have to add here 0, and then this will show up then, but I don't want the uncategorized to show. So I'm going to come here and exclude uncategorized, and we have just the accessories, the top levels, and then the static nav. So I'm going to change this to static. So just to not to confuse us, static, item. Okay, go ahead and save that and look at the front end. So right now we have our accessories, we have cooking, fashion, and all that. The next thing is to start looping the inside. So we're going to loop the LI, the list items. Okay, this block. So I'm going to turn on the loop, and we're going to go terms. The way I did it is such a way that it was pre-populated, so you can actually change this. So we're looping terms, product categories, and then the parents will be term ID. So how you insert that is just look for term, and you're going to see term ID, and you insert that into the parent. What this does is that it queries only the children that are direct children of the upper loop, the ancestor loop. So for accessories, only the accessories children will loop. And then we're also going to, turn on show empty, and you can see that it is looping, but then we have to change this also to term name so that we can see that properly. So you can see they are showing up. Of course, the first loop doesn't always show, just the second ones in the builder. And we're going to do that to this also. So for this, we are not looping the link, we're looping the LI, because you have to understand the structure, that you want. So this is the UL, this is the LI. And we're also going to turn on the loop, and it's also pre-populated the same way, and we're showing empty. I'm going to change the text there. The name of the text there also will be term ID, because we are also displaying terms. Now, if we were looping product under each of them, then of course in WooCommerce navigation, you don't list product, you list the terms. And then I'm going to save that. So we can see the accessories, and then under the accessories, we have all the queried second level, and then under each of them, we have the queried third level categories, and just the same with each of them. And then we get to the static content. Yep. So that's basically all there is. But I'm going to just show you how you can style this. This is the default style. Now, if you don't want this list item bleeding into the content, you can simply go in, select the tab nav container, and then go to the attribute, and you're going to find a lot of attributes. This, you have data sliding through, that is for mobile navigation. By the way, let me show you the mobile. So on the mobile, this is how it looks. You have the tabbed mega menu, and then you have the items here, and then you have this. Okay, so that is how it looks. So it's fully responsive. Now let's go in there. Now it slides in. Now if we don't want it to slide in, we can make it expand downwards, but let's not waste time on all that. Data bleed through, I'm going to turn it off. So we do that, you can see that it's not bleeding in anymore. Instead we have a line, but we can also turn off that line if we don't want. So I can turn it off by removing the divider, and then we wouldn't have it. And if you want the content to fade in instead of just appearing, you can set this fading content to true. And also if you look at in the builder, you can see these blue dotted outlines just separating the tab and the tab content. If you just, that is for visual aid to see how it separates. If you don't want that, you can always turn that off. Element outline, turn that off, and you wouldn't see it again. But I prefer having it before adding the colors. I prefer adding it so I can see the division. To style this, you have to do it in the code block. So I'm going to go to the navigation code block, and now you have an instruction that says if you're inserting it via a template element, move the CSS to a style sheet or a code manager, move the JS to your header template. Okay, now the reason you are moving the JavaScript is because if you have it more than one on a page, you know, you say you have multiple of them, you don't want to have the JavaScript, you know, multiple JavaScript files, you know, they are going to throw an error. So you want just one JavaScript file. That is why you have to move this. And how do you do that? Just copy this, go to your header template. Let me just collapse everything and just paste it, and take away the, just remove the whole of the CSS and leave just the JavaScript. You can delete this and then sign your code block. Now please take note, I'm using Bricks 2.0 RC, so things might look a bit different. Now back here, you're going to delete, since you've moved this JavaScript to the header, you're going to just delete that and leave just the CSS. Now the reason you are asked to move the CSS out to an external style sheet is because you want it to also load here in the builder, because this template doesn't inherit the header template. So if you put the CSS there, you're not going to see the result of your styling. But then if you leave it here and then you have multiple instances, then you're going to have multiple instances of this CSS. So that is why you have to move it. For now, I'm just going to leave it here for the styling. And once I'm done, we can move it to a more central location. All right, let's start. So the tab content background, we're going to leave it as the way it is, because it's going to inherit the list item active background. Okay, but we can change it if we want. The reason it wants to you want it to inherit that is in this sample, you see the active item bleeding into it. You know, you see they have to have the same background, but not necessarily, you know, compulsory. Okay, so I've gone ahead to delete the instruction inside the tab navigation template also, and it's time to style this. So I'm just going to clear that out to have enough space. I want to see it in this format. So first of all, I want to style the sidebar, you know, like this place where you have black here. And to do that, you have to style the tab list wrapper background. I want it to be purple, but there is a color called Rebecca Purple, if I'm correct. Is it double C? Yeah, Rebecca Purple. And then now the width, you know, the tab list width is the width of this. 250 is actually fine. You can adjust that if you want. The color of the tab list item, I want it to be white. The active color, I want it to be white. And then the active item background. If the active item background is white, then it's not going to be good. Why? Because the active item is white. So let's do it like this. The active item color, we want it to be Rebecca Purple. Okay. And then, yeah, the active background is white. Then the arrow, I want the arrow to be like medium purple. Okay. And basically that's it. Let's look at the front end. All right, so we have a style. It looks good. It looks great. So if we want to change all our styling, like this orange, red colors, so we could do that in the actual template, header template, which is this. We could just go into the style and options, and then we change the primary color to that Rebecca Purple. And save it. So now you have all the colors are in sync. So that is how you set up the tab navigation for the Mega Menu Pro. And it is not just peculiar to WooCommerce. You could use it for any kind of listing. You could use it for housing. You could use it for teams. It depends on what you want to use it for. The next major feature I would like to introduce to you in the Mega Menu Pro 1.4 is the adaptive header styling. This allows you to change the colors of your header navigation based on the background color of the section that you are scrolling over. Let's take a look at it. Now, if you take a look at this header, you're going to see that the colors are mostly white and black. But then when I begin to scroll over a darker section, it picks up the color of that section automatically. You really don't need to do anything. It just automatically picks up the color. Okay. And then when you scroll over a video section, it turns to semi-transparent glass morphism effect. And you have control over how this looks on any of the section types. You have different section type, which is the regular section. This is any section. You have the hero section. You can decide what it's going to look like in the hero section. By default, it defaults to your default styling, you know, in the hero section. And then when it gets to a video section, you can determine what it looks like, or you could just leave it to be the way it is. And how does it know where the hero section is? All these sections have classes. So we have the hero section. For it to recognize the hero section, it has to have a class of hero section. And then this is the video section. And for it to recognize the video section, it needs a class of video section. That is just it. Every other section doesn't need any special class. Now, if you don't want these to recognize this as a video section, then simply don't give it that class. And if you don't want the hero section to be recognized as the hero section, then just don't give it the class. It's as simple as that. Now, to incorporate this into your website, now this is our test site. Now we want to incorporate it into our demo site right here. Now, to do that, you go to your Gumroad dashboard and the adaptive header styling section, and you're going to copy the CSS, and you're also going to copy the JavaScript, and then you're going to go to your header template and create a code block and paste the CSS, paste the JavaScript, and then you're going to execute the code block. Make sure that it is executed, and then sign the code block if it is required. Once you do that, the next thing is to make sure you go to your header, because this can only work if it is sticky. You see, it has to be sticky. So you go to your header template settings, header, and enable sticky header. And once you do that, you have a sticky header. And then when we get to our demo page and we look at it, then you can see that what we just created, the colors have begun to change. You can see this is transparent, this is not transparent, this goes back to white. Now, how do you change the colors based on the background that it is? Now, we can change these colors based on either on a dark background, on a light background, or on a video background. Now, if we go into that code, and then let's expand the CSS, because mostly what you'll be working on is on the CSS. So you can see on dark background, and we can see how we redefine different variables on dark backgrounds. And these variables are the variables you use in your styling. That is why it is important for you to style your elements with variables. So you just redefine them in any of this section. Now let's look at this. Now, on a dark background, we want this not to be purple anymore. We want it to be black. That is a list item background. So let's go back. You can see this is a tab list wrapper background. Now it is Rebecca purple here, and we're going to copy that, and we will go and redefine it. So when it is on a dark background, so let's look at it. We already have the tab list items here, but we don't have the tab list item background. So I'm going to add it. And I want it to be just black, and I'm going to save that, and let's see what happens when it's on a dark background. And let's go to the dark background and check. You can see it turns to black. Now, what are all these are showing as orange red? Why is it showing as orange red? Let's go back there and see. Because we redefine our primary color on dark background to be orange red. Of course, you can change it to any color. Now, when we go to the video section, you can see it still goes back to purple. So on the video section, so this is on dark background. So let's scroll down to where you have the video section. On video section, we still want to define that tab. Let's go to the tab navigation section, and then I want to paste this. and I still want it to be black. But then I don't want it to be black, I want it to be translucent also. So we have some translucent colors here. So video hover background. So I'm gonna just come here and say I want it to be the video hover background. So let's say var video hover background, so it will be a bit transparent to, you know, be consistent with the rest of the styling. So we come here, you can see it is just a little bit transparent, as you can see. Now the problem is this text is black. It's still black, you know, it hasn't changed. So how do we change this text? First of all, we have to go to the tab navigation and see how that text is styled. This is a static link. Let's go and look at how it is styled. So we see the color here is black. So instead of giving it a color black, now we have to use the CSS variable, because if you don't use a CSS variable, it's going to be difficult. Now it's easier to use CSS variable, but if you don't want to use CSS variable, you could actually redefine it in a different way. So for example, I can just copy this class. No easy way to do that. I'm just going to do as if I want to edit it and copy it. Okay, and then I can go there, and then I could go all the way down and redefine it after the variables, and then I can just say that class was that. I want to change that color to white, but I want to change it on video background. So this is the class for the video and dark background. I want to change it on dark background. So I'm going to say is. Now I want to keep my CSS short, I want to select both the video background and dark background at the same place. All right, so whenever it is on the dark background, video background, we want to redefine the color of this. So I'm going to save that. And let's see, you can see now it is white. So we've basically just finished. I didn't have to do much, okay? Now even this, you know, if we want to change the color of this and all this, we do the same thing. You know, we can do the same thing. So all you need to do is either you declare this as a variable and then redefine that variable in the adaptive height code block. So where do you declare this? So let's say we wanted to change this static. And we have this. And what is the background color? This is the background color. Now, I could just say TN feature wrapper background also. So instead of putting this color, I can cut this color, copy that color, and just say the color will be var TN feature BG. Let me just copy that. But then you don't want to define it as a locally scoped variable, because if you define it as a locally scoped variable like this, and then you put that color, you still have that color. But if you define it as a locally scoped variable and save it, and then you go back to this and say on dark background, you want to change it to let's say yellow, something that is very prominent, obvious. Now you want to redefine that as yellow when it's on the dark background. So let's see what happens. Now when it's on a dark background, you can see it's still not yellow. Why? Because the variable was locally scoped, and a locally scoped variable will always take preeminence over a globally scoped variable. So what do you do in this case? So if you have this, you don't put that variable here. You could just create a root right there and say root. Notice that this root is different from this one. This is local, this is global. Now you see you still have the color, right? But then because you have made it a global scope, now the global scope means that this is at the HTML level. Now when you redefine it at the element level, now it takes preeminence. So if we go back to see it, you can see that it changes to yellow. We didn't look at the logo. So you see this logo is colored here, and here it is. Now this is the default color of the logo. So what I did here was that I go all the way down here. You could see all these things are, just take time to look at the comments. All right. So we have the logo color went on dark background. So we changed the path fill to white. That's all I did. So I just targeted the logo and changed it. This time I didn't use variables. So I could have used variables to avoid this, you know, but then I did not. So since I didn't use variable, I had to write out a rule on dark background logo path, the logo class, and the right path. And this is SVG path. So it changed it, the fill to white. That is why you can see this change to white and back to its original color. when it is not on those backgrounds. That's how you set up the adaptive header styling. All right, so what do you think about these new features? Let me know in the comment section. Are these features that you will actually use in your website? Let me know in the comment section if there's any other feature that you would like to incorporate in your header and navigation. Please let me know and I'll do my best to make sure it happens. So if you learned something in this tutorial, let me know in the comment section. Hit the like button, and if you want to get the Mega Menu Pro, you could get it here at Gumroad. I'm going to put a link in the description and you're going to see a link right here. So get it from Gumroad and use it to build your Mega Menu. I'm going to be bringing out more videos. We're going to build more Mega Menu live examples. Until next time, do have a great day. Bye.